Yes, Mr. Bediaku. There are two issues we will be looking at now. One, trade among the African nations, and then how this trade can be facilitated by the infrastructural development. When we talk about infrastructural development, we are not talking about the infrastructure within the countries, but we are talking about interstate transportation network. In other words, when you are building a road from North to South Africa, technically that road will not be the Ghanaian government headache or the South African government or the North African, but it's going to be the problem of the African Union. Please, can you educate us and enlighten us on this issue of trade and how things like train and road network by the African Union can come into what you call reality. So trade without infrastructure cannot work. So both in the African Union.
Kofi, thank you very much. I think when we talk of trade, trade is very, very important, especially when you have a growing population and you have a lot of them to engage in useful employment and also a lot to feed. You can see that importance of trade cannot be overemphasized. And to facilitate that trade using the African Union will be in our interest, because if you look so far how trading in terms of both international trading or trading among the countries have been, it has never been in the interest of any individual country in Africa. Take for example, in terms of countries that are producing cocoa, countries that are using cocoa, and talk about mineral resources. So you can see that if African Union is empowered, or we have been able to put those network very well firmly all being controlled by African Union, which will have secretariats to actually see the administration aspect. You see that there will be better trade among ourselves, and the countries will earn more among themselves. And even if you want to trade outside the African Union, you see that we'll be in a very good bargaining position. Now, how that trade, in other words, facilitation of trade will come about, or how effective will it be? So that is where an issue of infrastructure development is very fundamental to the development of trade or promotion of trade. Gone are the days that we have been taught in economy of comparative advantage and this. But over the years, we are asked to evaluate and assess the relevance or even the importance of those comparative advantage costs. Let us assess ourselves as African people whether it has been in our interest or it has yielded the needed requirement or what we want as African people. In my opinion, I think that we have not been able to achieve that. But now, I think the effort of linking our various countries with each other, especially outside example of that of Ghana. Currently there is a development of railway that is supposed to link Ghana to Burkina Faso. So in other words, it will facilitate movement of people, movement of goods and services across Burkina Faso and Ghana easily. If we talk of Togo and Ghana, you see that road has been very good. So what I'm saying that
the concern here is that all over the years, the leaders of the countries have been burdening themselves, because when you talk about train network, there are trade network that is the job of the government of Ghana within Ghana. There are so many parts of Ghana where you need to train for passengers, you need train for goods and so on, which I think the Ghana government would be more than enough to burden itself with that. But now we are talking about intercontinental rail line. In other words, the road, train that are cutting across from one end to another end. In this case, do you think that task, as we've been doing, thinking it's the job of the heads of each of the states, rather than being the priority of the African Union. In other words, they construct it and they charge how people use it.
Yeah, that is why I mentioned earlier on that when that has become the responsibility of African Union as to how to mobilize financial resources to do it, it becomes more effective. Because if you have timetable that look, within this year, this is where we want probably to develop or to connect this country to the other one, and that one to connect to the other. So, if African Union have that secretariat or that administrative sector, which will be responsible for all trade issues in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the legal framework, in terms of economic decisions and trade and bargaining, what have you, you see that we will be in a very good position. Transportations, the air, the sea, the air, the sea, and the rail, the road, all of them will be seen to, so that it is enhanced. If it is enhanced, you see that development of trade within the Africa will be very, very, very improved. But we should also not forget that, you know, looking at the nature of who we are, okay, we can also just say that, look, we should abandon the internal trade or internal road network that will even eventually facilitate, because if somebody is producing in one part of Burkina Faso, they also need a very good transport system or network system to be able to even to channel the goods to a location where the movement will be facilitated to another country. So we can see that the importance of road network or the network itself within the country is also fundamentally important. So, but I'm saying that it should be a grand plan. Okay.
In other words, we are going to have two plans: the plan of the leaders of the country and the plan of the African Union. So the African Union will be making their plan, although taking into consideration the plan of each country, and each country will be making their plan, taking into consideration the grand plan of the African Union, so that they'll be feeding themselves.
For example, African Union say, look, how do we connect Burkina Faso to Togo? How do we connect Togo to Ghana? How do we? So they will be looking at interconnection. So it's like we are in a circle, but there are few distance in between the various countries. So the African Union's responsibility will be to connect the various countries that are in circle, so that they become a big circle.
Is it to connect them, or let's look at it this way: if you go to the place like United States of America, you know there are so many states, or like in Nigeria, there are so many states. You have roads that are constructed by the state government. We have the ones like in Ghana that are controlled by the local living government, the municipal council, and we have the one that is controlled by the national government. It's the same way we are looking at this.
African Union.
Yes. So they will be passing. The African Union route is passing through Ghana, and all the Ghanaian roads are feeding into it where necessary.
Those that are we call maybe Union network, Union road network, Union rail network, Union Air Force, Union aviation. So many of them, sea and water. Even now, the issue of maybe not all of the African countries are linked to maybe water bodies. So the issue of even constructing a canal will become an issue. So those are the things that I think that we should be looking at. And I'm saying once again that, look, the power of Africa for us to move forward is not in the hands of our leaders. Our leaders are just the vehicle. We are the force that drive those vehicles. Until we move those vehicles to the right direction, they will never go to the right direction. So that is why it is important that you and I have to change the orientation of the thinking of our leaders, so that, look, they don't become puppets of external organizations or this. Those are the issues that fundamentally we who are in the front line doing this should be looking at.
Now, the orientation of our leaders that we say we want to change. Right now, our leaders, their orientation, most of them met it there, is to go to the African Union every 4 years and vote and come home. In fact, like I discussed with somebody this morning, that they don't even discuss with the people what they vote or what they discuss on. Is this not the reason why it becomes very important to change this orientation in making the people? Because when we are changing the orientation of the leaders, the orientation of the people is also very, very important. And look, if we want the president of Ghana to build a road in Ghana, we elect the person we elect, decide whether it's going to build road or not. In the same way, we're not applying the same principles in the context of the African Union that, look, this man said he's going to build a road from north to south within 4 years, within 3 years. And these are the industries he says he's going to set up so that he'll be able to actualize his dream, where he will create jobs for the people. Is it not the orientation we need to start?
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm saying. That is the orientation we have to start. Because for so many years, we have bought a vehicle which you always think that, oh, that vehicle will drive itself to the destination we want. So it becomes a formality. People go to African Union, drink tea, make merry, and come and sit down. We are not even briefed as to what has been discussed, as to what we have achieved so far in terms of our plans of integrating the whole African continent. So I am saying that, look, a new era has come where we have to drive the vehicle that we have actually bought, which are our government. Governments are always just ahead. So we are the forces that are supposed to drive those things to do what we want. And we do that. Then others will do it for us. Others will rely on the dissatisfaction that some people will feel within our society and capitalize on that and create confusion so that we can continue to fight among ourselves. But if we have realized that, look, the government is there as a head, we have bought a vehicle that we want to use to reach a destination, but it is our responsibility to drive that vehicle to that destination, then we can all see that, look, we are working in unity to achieve a common objective. So that should be the issue. And this thing should be done in collaboration with all agencies so that we can empower and actually give it the appropriate forum to actually voice out and to bring our plan to this. Because many people are they are thinking, they feel that, look, they are not in government, they are not in position of authority, and therefore they cannot exert that authority. And therefore they cannot actually influence decision-making organizations to do things according to the will of the people. That is why we are calling for the election of African Union President. And if that is done, and our mandate, the people's mandate is vested in that person, it means that we have a responsibility, and he has a responsibility towards us, and to make sure that things work in the interest of our people and for the development of the continent, so that we can gain the respect of those who always attack us, so that we can be in a very good position to negotiate a better deal for our people. It is only through this that we can actually revive the spirit of African dream that was dreamt by our forefathers.